Hi, Gav, going live.
Hey, there we go. Let me get my. It's been live streamed. Got it. There we go. Oh, lost you again. Nightmare. There we go. I am with you. Are we live now?
Hi, Gav, going live.
Hey, there we go. Let me get my.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a time delay on getting a little bit of feedback. Nightmare. There we
Okay,
go.
so-
I am with you. Are we live now?
We're live.
Gav, going live. Hey, there we go. Let me get my.
Yeah. All right, so I took off my Facebook on my, bear with us guys, because we may know human behavior, but we don't know technology. It's always fun though. So I'm going to get into our group, Gav, on my phone, and I can see us. And then this way we can have some comments coming in and see our comments. All right, and I think you're on mute, Gav. Oh, you know that. Okay, so he knows that, everybody. Awesome. All right, well, we have some good discussion tonight about being resilient. And let me tell you, everybody, we just went through a resiliency test.
Brilliant. I've had to put these earphones on to stop the feedback I was getting. Hopefully that will work.
All right. Hey, Debbie. So I'm looking at comments on my phone because I was getting feedback too. That's craziness. Yeah, and see, all right, let me go back here. Hold on one second as we.
I've had to put these in.
I hear you. I don't know how to, we'll get rid of that. Okay, so I'm just gonna check comments on my Facebook on the phone, and we'll see how it goes.
There's a really bad delay. I don't know how it's how you're receiving it at the other end.
Yeah, it is a delay, but well, guys, bear with us. We're still going to chat about some resiliency, which we just went through because let me tell you, we are not tech savvy, but we just overcame it. And on top of that, everybody, I'm going through a massive lightning and thunderstorm. So who knows, I may lose connection, and it's all about being resilient. It's about bouncing forward. Oh, so we are going to try to come to you guys live once a month so you could see us, although we don't get that active participation because we can't hear people, but we're going to try and read your comments. So I am monitoring comments. If you have a comment, chime on in. You have a question as we go through, please ask away. I will answer you. And yeah, so Gav, do you want to kick off and say anything about why we're doing this?
Sure. So, I mean, first off, I can't see the comments, so I apologize to everybody in advance. I don't know if there's a way I can change that. We'll have to see if we can sort that out for next time. Yes. And I can hear my own voice, which is probably the worst thing in the world for anybody, especially me with my accent. But yeah, we're going to cover resilience. We're going to go into lots of different areas over the next few coming months that we feel that are really going to be helpful to people. We're going to cover resilience and leadership today, mainly because of the fact that a lot of leaders have that resilience that we admire. And I know we've got one or few tips for you to take away. So Lena, back over to you.
And so Gab, if you close down if you have Facebook open and you close it down, then that repeating of the voice will probably go away for you.
See if I can sort that.
Yeah, I had to take it off my computer and just keep it up on my phone.
Right, I want to see if I can get rid of these earphones and see if that is working without the feedback.
Yeah.
That's
awful to hear your voice coming back to you. That's one thing that drives me insane.
Brilliant. So is that coming through without the delay and without the echo your end? Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right. Yeah. Thank you to everybody who's shown up and waited patiently. Much appreciated. So we promise we'll try our best to make it worth your while. So Lena, did you want to kick off with anything specifically?
So all right, we're talking about resilient and how to be resilient. And in the past, I've always focused about talking about resiliency in leadership classes, right? And you always hear the term, oh, you have to be a resilient leader. And it's one of those buzzwords, and people think, oh, it sounds so good. I have to be a resilient leader too. But what does it really mean, right? When you really get down to it, what does it mean? This is what it means, right? When you're resilient, and I'm going to read this because I love the definition of it. And as I read it, guys, gals, listen to it, let it sink in, okay? Because we're going to do some exercises, ask you some questions on it. So a resilient person can sustain their positive energy level under pressure to cope with any type of disruptive change. So think about that. We go through change every day of our lives. Gavin and I just went through a massive change. We're testing out new technology. That's huge, right? So how do we cope with it? How do we handle it? How do we maintain positivity? And it can be a little change. It can be a big change, right? So I'm even going through another change right now. I have this huge storm that's kicked off, and my new puppy, well, my dog, she's over a year now, but she has never been in a thunderstorm. So you're going to hear her getting a little crazy. Just little changes, anything we don't expect. So how do we overcome them? How do we cope with them? Number one, overcome them. Number two, and bounce back. Now I know bounce back is typical what we hear. I like to say bouncing forward, because who wants to go back in time? We don't want to go back and dwell on the time. We want to bounce forward. We want to get on to new and greater and better things. And we grow every day as humans. We grow personally, professionally, we grow emotionally, mentally. And so let's not go back. Let's bounce forward and keep growing. Now, despite any type of setback, any type of obstacle, a failure, a fear, heartache, drama, worry, stress, right? Any hardship, when you still have the willpower and the drive and the fortitude to keep going, you're resilient. That's being resilient. It's saying, okay, whew, I just took that punch. It knocked me down. How do I keep going forward with this? How do I sustain my positive energy and my willpower to keep going forward? So being resilient is really keeping positive thoughts. It's getting rid of the negative thoughts. It's getting rid of the self-sabotaging fear and behavior. And it's really sustaining those positive thoughts and remaining opportunistic. It's thinking of the opportunities. So how resilient are you? And how quickly can you recover from hardships in your life, from any type of adverse change? Because the thing is, when we're resilient, it impacts everybody around us, because our level of resiliency really affects how we talk to people, how we interact with people, how we maintain our emotional intelligence and our awareness. Because the moment we're not resilient, we can tunnel vision, we become super negative, maybe we retreat, maybe we become aggressive. But it usually results in an adverse behavior, which can obviously impact a lot of relationships and how we interact with people. And at some point, after we get through kind of dissecting what being resilient really means, we're going to loop it around to what Gavin and I do. You know, what do? We're experts in human behavior. We've been interviewing, interrogating, and a lot of other stuff for many years. And we couldn't have done what we did if we weren't resilient. So we will close the loop on that in a little bit. Gavin, I keep talking away. Do you want to say anything about the definition or what it means to you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people define resilience when they picture it, they picture something like a lighthouse that is something that is unmoved by any storm, which is great in some ways, but you have to look at the fact that, you know, the right amount of damage will eventually cause it to corrode and break and crack. So you don't necessarily have to look at something that's been solid and never having any give to be resilient. Instead, try and think of it another way, like a shock absorber on a car. As you're going down a bumpy road, that shock absorber is taking all that's thrown at it and stopping that car getting damaged. And this is a very similar kind of area where you need to consider resilience to be is your shock absorbers, because if that car didn't have those shock absorbers, it wouldn't last till the end of the road, especially not on English roads. So it would fall apart and break to bits because it wouldn't be able to absorb the impact of all the potholes and everything else. So resilience is not about standing firm no matter what. It's about being able to get hit, take it, and like you say bounce back, bounce forward, whichever way you want to look at it. But to be able to come back and without it affecting you as you continue to ride smoothly, absorbing all the shocks along the way. So is that a reasonable definition, would you say?
So you have this clever way with words, and I'm a little envious. And you create magnificent imagery. I got to say, I loved the lighthouse. I love the shock absorbers. And you know what? So those of you who don't know, our Thursdays are very hectic. And thank you, Gav, for holding the torch and keeping Clubhouse going. So we just got off a meeting because we are on every Thursday, 4 to 6 in another meeting. So we're zooming our lives away on Thursdays. But yeah, in this meeting, Gavin said something that was so critical and I loved it. And I even posted it on Instagram a little bit ago. And I'm just going to read it to you guys. Every time you get it wrong, you are one step closer to succeeding. Right? That's being resilient, because let me tell you, we get it wrong. I've gotten it wrong many, many times. And I know another friend of ours says we fail forward, right? If we keep failing and getting back up and pushing it and keep going, we learn from all of that, and it really shapes who we are today. So for those of you out there, if you hit a roadblock, if you have failed, if you have stumbled, if you got it wrong, don't worry about it. Just move on, tap into your resiliency and move on, because if you don't, that's when we get stagnant. But look at all the great leaders in this world. I'm pretty certain they failed multiple times in something.
Oh yeah. And of course it's these roadblocks that you mentioned, it's used a lot of the terminology roadblock. I saw a brilliant post not so long back, and it was giving up is like slashing your other 3 tires because you had puncture on one. And it's kind of, you know, very much a case of, you know, you will encounter problems. One of the things I came across when I was going through some of my notes with psychology, with resilient people, is they're aware of what we call winter comes. Okay, it's no good complaining every time that it's snowing and raining, because it happens at the same time every year, and then summer comes. Right? You are going to have problems in your life. You are going to encounter these roadblocks. You are going to come across these issues, and it's how you deal with them that changes everything. So, you know, and waiting until the end of the summer and then going, oh, yeah, it's now going to be raining and miserable and moaning about it is not going to solve anything. But going back to what you were saying about the roadblock, I love this idea of somebody driving down the road in their car, and there's a cone in the middle of the road, so he stops. And he puts his handbrake on and he turns the car off, and then the car behind him comes and he stops, and then you get this big traffic jam of people, and you know, and somebody from the back gets out and says, "Why have you stopped me?" "Oh, roadblock, there's a cone." I'm like, "You nuts? Just go around it." Right? And this is what you've got to look at with everything that you come across in your life. It's not necessarily, stop looking at it as a roadblock. Look at it as it's just a cone. And all you've got to do is go around it, or move it out of the way, or find a way past it. Don't drive over it. Hell, we don't care. Just find a way to continue on your journey, no matter what you have to do. The road isn't necessarily blocked. It's just an obstacle. And if everybody stopped at every obstacle they ever came to, nobody would ever achieve anything. You know? So I've come across enough of them.
No. Well, let me tell you something. When I was an interrogator in Gitmo, if I gave up every time I left an interrogation with no information or not being able to build rapport, where the heck would I be right now? Right? If I gave up every time that something didn't go my way, where would I be? So, and it's just thinking about that, you know, it's how everything in life, everything happens that's going to push you forward. You just have to invite it in instead of fighting it, and almost like that. I don't want to say giving up, but it's having that negative attitude towards it. Like, oh, it's doom and gloom. I tell people, I'm like, listen, I have been in rock bottom's basement. Oh yes, I have been there. Right. But now I'm not. And if I wasn't resilient, right, you can't climb out of it. At some point, we're all going to get there. But at some point, We got to get out of it. And so today, guys, we're not just going to talk about how to be resilient, because that's not who we are. We're going to talk about, we're going to teach you how to become more resilient, because I got 4 tips for you.
Yeah, we got some methods coming up. We got some great
Yes,
things.
the
to
methods.
get
Yeah,
on
because one of my pet peeves is, you listen to any type of lecture or TED Talk or a webinar, and they talk all about X, but then they never give you the why. They don't tell you how to overcome it. They don't tell you how to do it. So we're going to do that for you today.
We're going to give you some great methods, some great takeaways, and some good stuff to get you on the road to resilience. Do you want to kick off with the first one?
Yeah. So I came up, and in my course, so I'm launching my other labor of love next week. April 14th is my next 12-week online course, where each week, one-on-one, I do private coaching with you, and then we get together in a group, which happens on Thursdays, which is pretty amazing because the knowledge sharing is so good. But I'm launching that in enhanced interview negotiation. You do not have to be a law enforcement or a private investigator or in financial fraud. If you want to ask a question and get the truth, if you want to go into a negotiation, even if it's buying a car and you want a win-win situation, then this is the techniques that you need to learn. So I digress from it. So yeah, so in this course, right, I was working on a segment to be resilient, because if you're interviewing and you're negotiating, you've got to be resilient because you're dealing with another human on the other end, right? Let's look at human behavior. Let's look at our personality preferences, our communication style preferences. Humans come with differences. Humans come with things that I'm not expecting. So how do I handle when they say something I didn't expect? How do I handle when they do something I didn't expect? Being resilient helps you to kind of ebb and flow. And it really helps you to navigate how to handle things you didn't expect. In my line of work, it would be, I'm not talking to you, I have nothing to say, it's in my file. I can't make you talk, so what do? Right? I have to go to the basket of techniques that I have to try to persuade you to want to be open and honest with me. And in this course, by the way, I do teach you persuasion tactics, but being resilient is right up front. It's like in the 3rd week, because you have to have that foundation in order to handle a challenging conversation, a difficult conversation, any type of conflict, aggression. You have to be resilient, and you have to know what to do and not let whatever happens push you down, right? So let me go in and just tell you that I created 5 quick steps to being resilient. And Gav, I'm just going to run through the 5 and we'll talk about them. We'll maybe share some examples or whatever. So step 1 is that being able to cope, right? Even in the toughest of times. My go-to way of coping with things is saying, you know what, Lena, it wasn't the worst it could have been. It could have been worse. At some point, even though it was horrible, it still could have been worse. So how do I cope with it? Number 2 is getting support. Now, this one is not easy for me because my personality and how I was brought up is we take care of ourselves, right? I don't need to go ask people for help. I don't like to, and it makes you feel a little uneasy. So, but getting support. You have a support network around you who would love to help you get through a challenging time. Step 3 is cultivating mindfulness. When we're mindful, our mind is calm. We're rational. We're not irrational. We tap into our emotional intelligence. We don't overreact. We don't take things too personally. So cultivate that mindfulness. Step 4 is reframing how you think. Sometimes we just have to take a step outside of the conversation and look at it objectively and say, you know what? Maybe I was being a little unreasonable. Maybe I came across as a little accusatory, and really be able to step outside ourselves. And then step 5 is that bouncing forward. It's anything that you need to do that is going to help you get through this. It is completely okay to sit with your emotions, whether you're angry, you're jealous, you're frustrated. Enjoy it for a minute, but that's it. After a minute, get out of it and let it go. Because if you tether onto that emotion and you dwell in it and you can't take yourself out, that's not bouncing forward, right? You're a human. You have every right to get pissed off. I'm going to say that right now because I do. And I think I have every right in those situations. But at some point, you got to let it go. You either got to do something constructive to fix it, or you just got to let it go. All right. So those are my 5 steps that I like to kind of package up to be able to become more resilient. Gav, I'm going to toss it over to you. What words of wisdom?
Brilliant. So the first thing I'm going to try and explain to everybody is to hang up their judgment, especially if they've heard of some of these things before, or if they've never heard of them before, and they go, oh, yeah, I don't think that'll work for me. Because that judgment is going to impede any effectiveness if you've already got the wrong mindset. If you think, oh no, not, you know, I've seen people try that and fail and whatever else. You know, get rid of that kind of negativity, because you don't need it. So a lot of resilience is down to mindset and you know, and how you look at things. You can have something really, really bad happen, but if you're in the right frame of mind, it doesn't affect you as much as if, you know, have you ever noticed when you get your belt loop caught on the handle of the door, it's always when you're having a bad day.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, you ever done that? You know,
Yes.
because if you just walk through the door normally on a good day, you catch your belt up, you go, oh, silly me, you know, whatever the, you know, and it wouldn't, but when you're having a bad day, you're like, stupid door, the door's stupid, right? So again, you know, getting into the right frame of mind to start with is always a bonus. And as I said to Lena the other day in one of our meetings, starting your day off right on the right foot is a hugely important step for trying to keep yourself in that frame of mind for the rest of the day. And one of the methods I used to use, which was, you know, you can be able to tell my age a little bit now, back when my alarm clock was a CD player, and I had a particular CD that I put in, and I set the alarm to start my day off to a song that was a real positive, feel-good song for me. And everybody's got one. Everybody's got one when they're driving down the freeway and the weather's great and that song comes on, you just blast it, and the drive just becomes so much better and much more enjoyable. So whatever that song is for you, and in NLP we call this an anchor, you know, because you've anchored that good feeling to that song. Whatever that song is for you, start your day off with it. Whether you know, there's a lot of phones these days, I'm sure you can set the settings to some kind of an alarm to start your day off to that song to wake you up, rather than, you know, starting the day off with it, trying to kill the alarm clock because it's woken you up and you're in a bad mood before you've already started. So get yourself on the right foot to get you off to a good start on a great day. The other thing is, I'm going to bring to everybody's attention that people seem to think that resilient people don't have negative thoughts and that everything's got to be fluffy and rainbows and positive and whatever else, and that's not the case. And I've got some bad news for everybody, but I'm going to follow it up with some news which is a hell of a lot better. And a lot of people, especially all the kind of feel-good gurus out there, are not going to like this, but negative thoughts are actually a little bit more powerful than positive thoughts. Yeah. And there's loads of people who are going to say, oh no, that's crap, but it's not, it's true. And it's served us well for survival purposes for many, many, many years. Because if you come out of your cave, there might be a beautiful waterfall over to the right and the most beautiful scenery in the world, but there might be a saber-toothed tiger to your left, and that's the one that's going to grab your attention, because that's the one you need, that kind of negative thought to make you go, hey, I need to get the hell out of here. Right, so that you're going to cling on to that and that feeling first and get the hell out of there. So for years back when we were, you know, Neanderthal creatures roaming the earth, that negativity was important. So that's why these thoughts are powerful. But because we have them and because everybody has them, what you've got to do is just learn the fact that they're only there to serve a purpose. And once that purpose has been served, it's now time to move on and change everything. And the objective here is not necessarily to get rid of them. It's just to note that they've happened, be aware of it, and then move on. So something my CO used to say many, many years ago was, nobody's dead or pregnant. If you went to him, you know, whatever the situation was, you know, and you said, look, you know, this has happened, that's happened, he'd just say, calm down. Nobody's dead or pregnant. And if whatever it is has happened, you know, if nobody's dead or pregnant, then we can resolve it. And that was it. That was how we looked at the situation. You know, is this the worst thing that can happen? And if it's not, then you just work your way back to say, actually, things aren't that bad. So, and it was that calming vibe that he had that kept a lot of us kind of in check. It was brilliant. So that was one thing that I thought I'd better bring to the table. And then secondly, you've got to take perception into everything. right? A few years ago, I had an X-type Jaguar, and I was driving home. A deer ran out in front of the car in front of me. I stopped just in time to stop me hitting the car in front of me, and the car behind me smashed straight into the back of this Jag. To make matters worse, when I got out, it was a police officer. And I was like, oh, wow, what kind of a day am I having? My car was a write-off. Her car was a write-off. The deer had ran off, and the driver in front of me had also driven off. So there was just the two of us. And the police officer ran into me. She was just on the way to start work at a shift. She was shaking. She was in a bit of a mess. And I just sat with her and said, look, it's okay. You know, you're alive. I'm alive. Could have been a lot worse. You know, these cars, they're just metal. They're replaceable. You and I aren't. You know, and if you can change your perspective, for me, it was a bonus. You know, I got a brand new car loaner for I got like 2,000 miles when it was delivered, for the next 6 months to use for nothing, and then they paid me out for the car. You know, so for me it was a real bonus, because I was thinking of upgrading anyway. So I ended up with a payout for a car, and went and got myself a new one. So perspective there, I could have sat there dwelling, going, oh, you know, my car's written off, and this silly idiots ran into the back of me. And no, I looked for the silver lining. You know, and the silver lining for me that day, like I said, was getting a new car out of it. So, yeah. Bonus all round. And just look at everything as a kind of, is this helping me or hindering me? Everything and every thought, you know, is this helping me or is this hindering me? And it's the same with when you're driving. Like I say, with these negative thoughts, there's a countermeasure you can do. And if you've got 3 default positive thoughts that you can think of. Have you heard of this technique before, Lena?
No.
So what you do is, if you're kind of driving down the road and somebody cuts you up and you're like, and you're getting angry and you think, oh, he's a a-hole, you make yourself aware of the fact that you've had that kind of aggression and negative vibe for a moment. Think of 3 positive things then to counter it. Okay, no problem. He didn't run into my car. He didn't hit me. He's going at a reasonable speed. He's not slowing me down. I'm not going to be late for work, and I'm alive. And it's a good day, right? So you can kind of you can counter it with this positivity. But the most important thing, if you're having regular negative thoughts and want to stop them, or at least reduce them, don't actually try to stop them. Just observe them every time they happen, and they'll stop automatically. All you got to do. So every time you're kind of at the checkout, I was talking to Lena about it. You'll always be behind that. You've got one item and somebody's got a cart filled, and then when you get to the end and you think, right, now just pay and go, they bring out a load of coupons and you're like, oh. Just observe what your thoughts are. You don't have to try and say no. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't say no. Stop being negative. Be positive, because you end up just winding yourself up even more. Because you end up.
You're feeding it, right? At that point, you're feeding this negative thought. You're already giving attention to it. It doesn't need attention.
Exactly.
Right? It doesn't deserve that. Let it go.
Energy goes where attention flows. So you just literally, you just go, okay, I had a negative thought. I'm aware of it. I'm just going to let it go. And just keep working on that theory until eventually, by default, just by observing each and every negative thought you had, eventually you will get to the point where you think, this isn't actually doing me any good, and it will naturally start to reduce, and it will become less and less. And like I say, everybody has bad days. Everybody has bad things happen. Like I say, winter comes, but it's knowing that winter's going to come, and knowing that winter's going to go again, and knowing you're going to be all right, that gets you through it.
So I want to take what you just said, because I really love that. Like, stop dwelling and stop thinking about the negative thought, because there were so many times that I've been in interrogations and interviews and it wasn't going well. And guess what? My inside voice is saying, oh my gosh, what are you going to do? You're going to fail. How are you going to fix this? You're not like, all the negative talk I could possibly come up was clouding my mind, instead of saying, focus on finding the hook, finding the common ground, listening, using elicitation, expressing empathy, right? Whatever else, all the basket of techniques I had, I wasn't even thinking about them, because I gave all my energy to thinking about the negative thoughts that were just popping up. Had I not, I would have stayed more focused, more aware, and been able to utilize techniques that I had in order to gain trust and gain truth.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, go on, Lena, I interrupted.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was just going back to what I said to the other day, which I think was an absolutely brilliant one, because so many people, when I say, and I've said this so many times before to so many people, not every action deserves a reaction. So just because somebody tries to trigger you, or just because something bad happens, doesn't mean that you choose how you react to it. You choose, it's your decision. If somebody calls you a name that you disagree with, it's down to you to decide whether you're going to get offended by it, or how you're going to react to it. So, and the big one, like I said to Lena yesterday, and she absolutely loved it, is quite simple. A question you should ask yourself in these circumstances: is it really going to matter a year from now? And if the answer is no, let it go.
Let it go.
Simple as that. Because what seems like a big thing now, in 12 months' time might be so trivial, you probably won't even remember it. And if that's the case, if you can say, well, if I can put myself forward a year and look back, will I really be still angry about this little event that I've burned the eggs or whatever it is? Nah. So, don't get angry about it now. Don't give it any more than a minute of your time.
Let me share 2 crazy things. So this is something that people aren't going to like either, because you know us, we love to throw out the controversy. All right, guys. So when you start thinking about stuff too much or a lot, it can become a belief. Doesn't mean it's bad, right? Sometimes we have really good beliefs. Sometimes we have that beliefs that don't self-serve us, right? And they cause a lot of negative energy, I guess. So I went to my friend Allie Duso, who's a life coach, and I said, I was complaining about something, and I said the words, I believe, and she's like, oh, hold on. And I said, what? She goes, you realize what a belief is, right? And I said, no, what is it? She goes, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking over and over. And I just sat back and I'm like, no one's ever said that to me. And I thought, did I just create a negative belief because of my complaining about whatever the situation was? And I kept thinking about it. And when I said, well, I believe, she's like, where'd that come from? That's just a thought you keep thinking. So what I'm saying is, your belief that's not serving you may not be validated. So think back as to how it became a belief, right? Our thoughts that we think over and over can become beliefs. Our thoughts are so powerful. I'm going to share this little equation with you because I have it in, I like to say I have 2 lives. So I have it in my human behavior life and I have it in my leadership life, or at least I teach it. And it's this: you have an event, then there's a trigger. Usually that trigger is triggered by a thought we have about the event. Then there's a reaction. The reaction comes from the thought I had about the event, and then there's a consequence. So the event, the trigger, the reaction, the consequence. If you're going through life, if you're in a particular situation and the consequence was not positive, go back, reverse engineer that little equation. What was your reaction? What was the trigger that caused it? And then think of the event. The event by itself can't cause your reaction. It's impossible. What causes your reaction to something is the thought you think about it. The event can't do that. Only your thoughts can. And so if something is reoccurring in your life and it's not having a positive outcome, the consequence isn't good, go back and think about the thoughts you think about that particular situation or a person. And then if you change them, they could have that other outcome. Just like what Gab, you said earlier, those 3 default positive thoughts. Change your thoughts, you change beliefs, you change the reaction, you change consequences. And I always give this example. How many of you have ever been cut off in traffic? Now, when I get cut off in traffic, I go full bore Italian. I got to work on it. I know I shouldn't, but you're seeing hand gestures and I'm saying things I shouldn't. What made me so angry? And every time I teach this in my classes, people are like, well, somebody cut you off. They could have hit your car, they fill in the blank with all this stuff. I said, yes, but what really made me angry? And then when you start to think about it, I did. The thoughts I had about somebody cutting me off made me angry, because if I change my normal thoughts, and my normal thoughts are, how dare you? What right do you have? You could have hit me. Those are my normal thoughts. They make me angry. But if I change my thoughts, I change the reaction, it changes the consequence. So if I say, you know what, maybe they just didn't see me, then all of a sudden I'm not angry. And the consequence could be different, right? It's powerful work, but when we change our thoughts, we can change our reaction to things and people, and then we can change the overall consequence or the outcome and positively influence. But it takes a lot of work, right? You have to be very aware, self-aware and emotional and aware of your emotions in order to say, stop thought, let me replace you with another one.
And remember, of course, that we are a relatively young species. Even after 2,000 years of civilization, we still haven't even lasted as long as what the dinosaurs did in comparison. And if you look at the fact that we are still a very primitive being, really, and take that into account. If you don't believe me that we're primitive, sit at the traffic lights and rev your engine. When they turn green, see what happens. Because I guarantee you, you don't have to do anything other than give it a good rev, and the guy in the lane next to you is going to go boom as soon as they're on green. Because this is how the mindset works. They want to be first. They don't want to be beaten. I've had it time and time again. I enjoy it. I make people laugh. I'll sit at the lights. I'll rev the engine. I'll say, "Now watch what he does." and I can trigger them so easily. So, but. With that in mind, also accept the fact that I'm not telling people to go out there and every time something bad happens to go, oh, isn't it a wonderful world? Yeah, all right, people are going to get angry. But, you are going to row with your spouse or whatever the case may be. And this is where I would suggest a method that I call walk the dog. All right. And all it is go and get your aggression out, because you can't always think 3 positive thoughts when you're in a bad mood. You can't always do these exercises because you just go, I just don't care, hand me the Jack Daniels. So get out the house, slam the door behind you if you need to, right? Go and take a walk around the block and chunt it to yourself and go rah, 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 and run. Get it out of your system, come back, take a deep breath and go, right, reset. Now let's face the world again, right? Even if you forget the dog, walk the dog. Get it out your system, let it go. Sometimes we do need an outlet. In fact, I said to Lena today, it's been proven that people that journal are less prone to heart attacks than people that don't, because that in itself is an outlet. It would be a small one, but it's enough to make a difference. So implement the walk the dog method, and it helps. If you need to, rant to somebody, call Samaritans.
Yeah, well, and that's the whole thing with getting support, right? Figure out your outlet. What works for me and Gav may not work for you. So when you figure out this is what works for me. So I will tell you something that works for me is I separate and I go play my favorite music. If I hear my favorite music, I cannot be mad. It just does. It's not in sync. I hear my favorite music and I'm happy, right? So I can immediately kind of change my mindset just by listening to music. That's my go-to. You guys may have something different, but when you figure out that one thing that's going to help you reset your mind, do it. And that's your go-to. But don't forget that you have that support network around you. Ooh, the thunder is crackling over here.
Wow, I heard that, yeah.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
I'm just going to bring up the fact also that we hear a lot about this practice gratitude, everybody. And it's becoming more and more popular. And to be fair, you can understand why. There's in 2005, Martin Seligman and co. did a experiment where they got people at the end of each day to just write down 3 things they were grateful for that happened that day. It doesn't matter what it was or how small or how trivial. But what they found is at the end of 6 months, these people had higher levels of gratitude and happiness. They had generally better lives. They had less depression and a more positive outlook towards life. So when you are journaling, if you decide to go that route, or even if you don't, write down a scrap of paper, text it to yourself, whatever. Get those 3 things each day that you are grateful for. It doesn't matter what they are, and that will really definitely help towards keeping you positive and keeping depression at bay.
Absolutely. I try every night right before I fall asleep. I'm like, all right, what today was I thankful for? What today made me super happy? And that's the thought that I go to sleep with. right? I dump everything else. I'm like, this was that one amazing thing. And maybe there's more, but at least having that attitude of gratitude. When I was studying with Janine Driver, and I don't know if you're listening, Janine, I miss you. After I took training with her years ago now, and then I would go and assist Janine, and I'd help her train the trainer course up in Washington, DC. And we would always end every night. But back in the day, I will tell you that our days went from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Yeah, she slacked off now. I think it's like maybe 8 to 6. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, those days were grueling. I mean, 12-hour days. But anyway, every night, whether it was 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock, we'd all sit on the floor of the hotel conference room, and we would do an attitude of gratitude. And you had to do it. And she'd be like, I'm going last. And she would point at it. She's like, Lena, you go right before me. So we're last. And everybody had to say what they were grateful for and the one thing they learned, and then what they were grateful for. So I think it's just taking all the clutter and just saying, let's center back. One thing that I learned and one thing I'm grateful for. And it didn't matter what it was, but just at the end of the day, wrapping up thinking I'm grateful for X just puts you in that positive mindset. And I think it gets you a good place to restart the next day, right?
Yeah. Before we move to closing, is there any kind of questions or anything in the chat that we need to address? Because I can't see the chat.
Yeah, we've been talking this long. Well, I think we got started late because of my inability to.
It's all right. We will know for next time, everybody. So thank you.
Well, I know that Debbie said at one point, I was looking at the comments, was, resiliency and how it relates to flexibility. It is being flexible, especially with our thoughts, but I also think it's always anchoring back to being positive. And I think that's that huge, being flexible is one thing, but if you can remain positive throughout that, that's really being resilient. And I know Eric. Hi, Eric. I haven't seen you in forever.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah, Eric is here. Grant's here. Brian. We got a bunch of people.
Eric thank you guys
said,
for coming.
I know. Eric said something about anchoring to like a good song, like in a workout. If all of a sudden you get through a pain point, you get a song, it's like, oh, I can keep going, right? I can keep doing this because it's something that makes me feel good. It's something that helps me get through it.
Yeah, Eric was a runner, wasn't he? So he knows how this works, and yeah, that is a brilliant system. Yeah. Yeah, thank you guys for coming here. By the way, for everybody who's come over from Clubhouse, this will be a regular monthly thing, the first Thursday of the month. And for those who are here, we do the Clubhouse on the remaining 3 Thursdays of the month. Yep. So it can be a bit more interactive. So you guys can come on over. If anybody isn't already on my Facebook page, which is Gavin Stone Author, please give it a like and follow me on there. Twitter is @AuthorGavin, and I got my website, which is gavinstone.us. So please follow us on there. And what we're going to do, if it's all right with you, Lena, I'm going to put a teaser out for next week. And I'm going to tell everybody the method that is been proven time and time again to help people with imposter syndrome. And how to kind of completely eradicate it, and to give yourself an unshakable confidence. So I've been utilizing it myself, and it's really helped me to build my confidence. I'm not a very confident person, as you can tell. So.
Yeah, and I'm the Queen of England. Well, I do have a corgi as my dog, but anyway.
Oh well, there you go.
Well, I will. Confidence is key. Confidence attracts. Right? Not insecurity. When you're confident, people are naturally drawn to you. They want to listen to you. They want to like you. They want to trust you. It doesn't mean you have to be an extrovert. It doesn't mean that you have to, be the center of attention. You just have to be confident in your own skin and in who you are and the decisions you make. People can see that, they sense it, and they love that. Yeah, confidence is key. All right, I'm looking at the chat. Do you guys have any questions? I'm going to look through. Oh, my dog just woke up. I'm not sure. Yeah. I love it. Oh, Grant said he did the attitude of gratitude in one of his calls.
Oh wow, I'd like to know more about that. I've got to speak to Grant actually later. I've got a question for him.
I love it. I will tell you, Gav, we do have some amazing people that come and listen to us. So thank you all for coming. We really, we love having you here.
I also want to thank them for helping me with holding the fort while while we've been going through a bit of a rough patch and Lena's been absent. So I want to give a shout out to Brian, to Brent. I want to mention Grant's name and everybody else who's shown support, like Sujata, and even Susan Ibis came along. There's so many great people. Jamie, I could just go on all night with how grateful I am for the people who come every week and take part, and their contribution is greatly appreciated. So thank you guys, and thank you for coming over to here tonight as well.
And I am going to be more present on Clubhouse now that my second labor of love is released and I'm done with my book and all my massive projects have come to a close. They're simmering down so I can breathe again and join.
It's my turn to finish my book off now, so Lena can hold the fort.
Okay, you got it. You got it.
No, I'm joking. I'll be there. You know.
Well, listen, guys, if you have any recommendations on topics you want to hear, whether it's on Clubhouse or when we do this live once a month, any type of polls that we should do, I would love to get us more interactive in this group. So we're open to your suggestions. We would love to hear what you have for us. All right. With that, I guess we will sign off. Thank you again for being here. We really appreciate it. If you guys weren't here, we wouldn't do this. Gav, over to you.
Brilliant. Thanks again to everybody, and hopefully see you at the next one. Hopefully see everybody on Thursday at Clubhouse. I'm also doing a Clubhouse with Lily Wolford on Monday at 9:30 GMT. So if you can be there for that, that is going to be great. We're going to be discussing stalkers and how to get rid of them, and what to do and what not to do. So, which eventually I think will carry over to some of the information on Truth Sisters and who knows where it might go. So anyway, hopefully see you all there, and thank you everybody for being here. Please keep any questions coming in and any topics you'd like to cover, and now we can get on it. Now Lena is going to be here regularly. We'll get it covered and get it addressed. Thank you everybody.
All right.
Have a great night.
Take care, everybody. Be safe. Have a good night.